This is a Step Beyond the Fire podcast. My name is Cully Lord. I'm a land manager and a wildlife biologist here in my home state of Florida. I invite you to join me on a journey as I seek to document the little-known stories told by those who use fire for the benefit of the land, also known as prescribed fire. So come on, let's head into the field and meet the people where the flame ends and new life begins. Welcome back to another episode of A Step Beyond the Fire. Once again, I'm your host, Cully Lord. It's a Sunday morning. It's raining. I'm in the truck heading north right now to a little town called Olustee, Florida. You can hear the windshield wipers going in the background. We got a special invite to come to a prescribed fire training class just last minute. I have a good friend of mine named Barry Coulliette, who is a prescribed fire training specialist who spent 36 years with the Florida Forest Service as a prescribed fire course instructor. He was also an active land manager, a conservationist, and he's just been a great advocate for stewardship on public as well as private lands. But these days, Barry works for an entity called Alachua Conservation Trust, where he coordinates assistance with public and private landowners to help them achieve their burning goals each year. And so Barry's a great ally. He's been a good friend. And I talked to him on the phone on Friday, and he invited us to come up and listen in on this class that's being taught up here. It's at a small school called Florida Gateway College. And to my understanding, this is part of a curriculum that's are part of a series of classes that structural firefighters are taking to get their certification so they can go out into the workforce. So part of the whole structural firefighter series of classes that the students have to take is they need to know a little bit about wildland fire and how to handle those types of situations that they may run across occasionally too. So Barry is up there teaching this class. I'm a little unsure what to expect once we get up there. I'm not sure exactly how we're going to do this, but we're going to talk to Barry, get to know a little bit more about what his students are learning about today, and we'll see how this thing unfolds. So I will update you once we get up to Olustee. It's about an hour drive in the rain. So here we go. Okay, we are here in Olustee, Florida with Barry Coulliette. This looks like a great class. We got a lot of people here today. What's happening here this morning?
All right, so we got 22 students from Alachua County Fire Rescue that's taken the basic course. So when I say the basic course, so it's basic wildland course, but they're also doing the basic course for structural firemen. So these are 22 folks that are fixing to start their career as structural firemen in Alachua County. But we all know there's a lot going on in Alachua County and what we do in the wildland setting, where we're doing a lot of prescribed burning. We're managing Mother Nature, if you will, with fire. And so we are also taking this week that we have spent with these folks, teaching them the basics for wildland 130, 190, L180, I-100, stuff like that. Now they're working with the U.S. Forest Service crew out of Montana, so they're getting
these folks have traveled here from Montana to learn about this.
Well, no, so the folks here from Montana are actually here helping. They're what we call detailers. So they're here for the season. So in Montana right now, they probably got 6 foot of snow. There's not a whole lot going on with fire, wildland fire, prescribed fire, or any kind of forest management. So they come down here to part of the country where we're actively engaged in prescribed burning right now.
Yeah.
Okay, on all the national forests in Florida. This is our prescribed burn season, if you will. So they're here doing that, and because of the rain yesterday and the high winds and high dispersion today, they're not able to do anything. So they've agreed to assist me. Yeah, they've agreed to assist me. So we got, speaking of windy, 23 miles an hour gust today.
Yeah.
You kind of look up at the moss and the pine, the lonely pine here. Yeah, it's for sure enough windy. So 23 sustained winds, gust a little bit higher than that today. So pretty substantial wind. So these folks are here, and they've agreed to, instead of sitting in a motel room today, they've agreed to come out and help us instruct some students and get a little different taste
Yeah, this is great. I see. So everybody's got the banana suits on, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
What are the banana suits for?
Well, that's PPE. I mean, that's Alachua County. I mean, so for
Yeah.
what you and I wear on a prescribed burn, it's a little bit different. We're not,
So
yeah, I did call them banana suits earlier. And,
so they're basically a jumpsuit made out of Nomex, which
pretty
is
much, yeah.
a bright yellow color, so it's great for high visibility. You know, you need to have good visibility for your crew members when they're out working in the different areas out on the burn units and inside doing interior ignition and all that good stuff. And so these folks are really getting an introduction to how an engine would work on when it comes to actively burning on the line, correct?
Correct. But that same engine, you know, they use it for holding a line, but that same engine is actually set up and designed to suppress fire.
Yeah.
So and these folks here, I mean, so you think about structural firemen and everything that they learn for about 12 weeks is how to put fires out quickly and safely and all that. And so it's that mentality that you get when you're on a prescribed burn and the fire department shows up. They're thinking, we got to put this fire out.
Put it out.
You know, they don't understand it. But you know, part of this week is we also talk about putting wildland fires out, but we also talk about the importance of letting some of those fires burn. You know, or whenever they show up to a prescribed burn, understand that folks are trying to accomplish something. There's a written prescription, and there's certain parameters that we're trying to use to accomplish those things. And so I think that by allowing somebody that's got that wildland or prescribed burn perspective, these students here are going to go away with a different taste.
So what's your role in this class this morning? What direction are you taking this class this morning?
For me today, or for the past week, we've been in the classroom talking about fire weather, fire behavior, fuels, you know, the whole heat, oxygen, and fuel, different ways that heat transfers, you know, the fire environment, all of that, and how it all plays together, and what are those ticklers for, you know, when the humidity gets below 30%, what does that mean? And why is that fire so hard to suppress? And those kind of things. And what are the possible ignition sources during certain times of the year, and how to identify those. But so now we're turning it a little bit different. So right now they're going, 22 students are gathered around a Type 6 engine, and they're looking at all the components that would be on a federal engine. And then there probably a bunch of them are thinking about, you know, we don't need to have a third of this type of stuff on our engine back at the station. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've got probably 2,000 or 3,000 feet of hose just from the box that I'm looking at across the field here, or on a structure engine that would be used for wildland, a brush truck they would call it, might have only 2 sticks of 50-foot hose.
So that truck there looks like a Dodge Ram 3/4 ton big crew cab truck with a 300-gallon tank on the back. Correct?
Yeah,
it's
probably more of a 550 or you know, a larger class truck than that, and it's probably got 500 gallons of water.
500 gallons of water. So that's a lot of water and a lot of tools and equipment, and the students are getting sort of an overview of all of those different, everything from hose fittings to hand tools to all of the different safety gear that needs to be on the engine. There's a whole variety of tools and things that are used each day.
Correct.
And it can vary based on the conditions. Some days you might need just the little booster reel on the top of the engine to, you know, spray out a little bit of hot smoldering areas near the fire. Some days you may need to set up a big hose lay that goes 500 feet into the woods to put out an issue, you know, a smoke management issue.
Correct. And so they'll be doing this. They'll be learning about all the stuff that's on that engine for about another 30 minutes or so. Then we're going to transition to the forest where they're going to dig some hand line. So they're going to dig about 500 foot of hand line.
Then we're going to be fun.
Well, 22 students. That'll be a couple hours worth of work. Then we're going to rehab that line, and we're going to, you know, so they appreciate the benefits of you know, the need for rehabbing that line for erosion control and other stuff like that. And then later on this afternoon, we're actually going to put some have an exercise where they've got to suppress a fire. Well, because of the high humidity today and the rain yesterday, we're going to have to use flagging tape, and they'll just spray water on flagging tape. That's the best we can offer them. But even that can be challenging. Let's just say we got a bunch of students that are really crackerjack and they're able to figure that out. So if you notice in the back of my truck here, I got those little tube rubber balls.
Oh, I see those,
so the real challenge, if we have to go there, now we got to take water and spray those balls around, and they got to put them in a hole.
Oh, so it's sort of, and by doing that, it's developing their skill set to use water in a way that you can move quickly and put the fire out effectively while you're moving around.
Exactly.
Right?
And also, probably the bigger than any of that would be efficiency of the use of water. So if you show up 500 gallons of water, take you an hour and a half to get to the fire. Well, it's probably going to take you an hour and a half to go back and get more water.
It will.
An hour and a half to get back to the fire. So you got to.
That's true. Yeah.
One of the biggest things you learn here is how do you conserve water at the same time use the appropriate amount of water to suppress a fire. So yeah, they're learning a lot in a short period of time. So, and hopefully they understand that the training doesn't stop here for wildland fire. You invited some of them earlier to come out and help you burn. I've also invited them to come join us at the Alachua Conservation Trust to do that. But there's other agencies too. You got the city, you got the county organizations that are doing burning. You got state and federal organizations that are burning. The university, because we're kind of lucky to have that. University has a great couple burning programs. Yeah, so there's a lot of stuff that goes on in Alachua County. So one of the things that I stated when we started this class last Monday was, whenever you cross that county line going into Alachua County, it says where culture meets the wild. I don't know that it exactly says that, but it talks about that on the county sign going into the county, Alachua County. And so I kind of reminded them that there's, their leadership answers to county commissioners. The county commissioners are the ones that put the slogan on those signs. So obviously county commissioners are thinking about, we got culture here in Gainesville, but there's other stuff we want to try to keep Alachua County as wild as we can. Well, part of that is managing that with fire.
So taking a step back, I wanted to ask you, what's the best part for you for this type of work that you're doing at this phase in life?
Okay, so you and I have known each other a long time. I've been in this business about 43 years now. And
I took your class, your prescribed burn manager class, about 10 years ago now.
Okay.
I think it was in 14 or 13.
All right.
I can't remember. You
took that. I mean, I teach it like 7 times a year across the state. So I don't remember which one, but I do remember you being in the class, but I don't remember which location. Could have been Jacksonville, could have been in the Everglades. Okay, cool. So, but the thing for me for teaching, is I like to see light bulbs turn on. When I say light bulbs turn on, it's whenever you're talking, you've been standing up front talking about something, and you see the head nod, or you see the gleam in the eye where somebody finally picked up something new. Yeah. Okay, and that you're putting tools in their toolbox. And that toolbox is going to last them a lifetime, whether that be suppression or that be lighting. We talk about suppression and lighting. Yeah. So you're guiding people.
Yeah.
So they know they know the right thing to do at the right time.
So what makes a good student in your class?
That's a good question. Okay. So we got, in every class you got a smart aleck or two, and even they're learning stuff, but sometimes you don't know that. But it's those students that are kind of studious. They're there, they're paying attention, they're asking good questions, they're obviously taking good notes. But so what we're going to find out here in the next hour or so is when you put them out in the field and now they got to show you. So they've had 30-something hours of listening to Barry talk. Well, that's just a 40-something hour class.
Okay.
This one actually should be about 45 when we get done this afternoon. So, they've been in class listening. Now they got to show. So that's really how you're going to, did they hear what you said? Those things you said 4 or 5 times were the really important stuff. Can they show you now? That's going to be the test.
Yeah, I can recall that prescribed burn manager course. The instruction part of it was great. You get to a certain point where you almost get to your saturation point. And then when you get there, when you set the stage in the classroom, then when you go out into the field, I think that's where my light bulb came on in the class, or when we stepped out into the field and actually started looking at okay, so we've got all these different phases of the burn and how we put the prescriptions together and how we write our plan, but let's go out here and take a look around and see what we actually need to do, and let's develop a plan for this area. So then we went out and walked around. So I really enjoyed that part of that experience, you know?
Yep. Yep. And then you put fire on the ground, and then does the fire doing is it doing what you wanted it to do? And if not, how do you tweak things to get it to doing what you want it to do? Yep.
So you've been doing this for about 40 years now, and the majority of that has been teaching, right?
Well, a good chunk of it for sure. Yeah. I mean, I started in '79. I probably started teaching hot and heavy around '92. I mean, I was doing some teaching in the '80s, but I mean, it was a class every now and then. But somewhere around '92, it became a good friend of mine that you know well, Jim Shortermeyer. He put some numbers together one time and figured out that just the classes he and I were teaching, we were gone about a month and a half from our families each year, just teaching the classes that he and I taught together. And I looked at him one day and I said, well, that's pretty impressive numbers, but I teach with more people besides you. And my wife happened to be standing around, and she's like, yeah, for sure. And then he gets done with all, and then he goes out west for a month fighting fire.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I've had a full career. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah. So Jim has been a good mentor of mine over the years, and we hope to have him on the show.
Cool.
I'm trying to talk him into it.
Well, he'll be up here in a couple of weeks. He and I we're going to do some burning together up in Georgia.
Oh, good. That's good. You know, there's even been talk of a book that he might want to put together relatively soon. So
cool.
If we have him on the show, we'll do a shameless plug for his book.
All right.
Because he's got some great burning stories. I haven't done this so long. And he gives these presentations about showing how they used to do things decades ago and what the equipment looked like, and telling stories about the Everglades and getting on those swamp buggies and stuff. I always like to hear those.
Yep.
I always like to hear those stories from him.
Things have certainly changed from back in the day when he and I started doing this, for sure. Yeah.
So it's great that you've been able to have such a positive influence on people coming through this. And, so you're kind of in the second phase in life, right? Cause
I am.
You retired, and then you're doing this now.
36 and a half years Florida Forest Service, and a lot of, so you start mingling with the people that you and I mingle with that are into prescribed burning, and everybody thinks because you came up within the ranks of the Florida Forest Service that you're all about suppression, and that's not the case. Part of that was managing a state forest and then a lot of state forests before I left. And, we had a really strong prescribed burn program on every one of those forests. And I'm pretty proud of the numbers that we produced then, and they're still producing today with acres burned on state forest. Then I transitioned to Alachua Conservation Trust. I thought I could stay retired, but I couldn't.
So were you getting phone calls and people asking advice and just wanting to hang out, huh?
I had hung out my shingle, and I had started doing some consulting, and that was okay. And somebody said, hey, would you come to Alachua Conservation Trust and start a landowner assistance program with us? And I thought, you know what, that's the part of the job I love.
So by landowner assistance program, can you talk about that a little bit more?
Yeah. So it's the Prescribed Burn Association is what they wanted me to help them get started and kind of be their coordinator and get a strong program going, get some instruction going on, with the goal that because we actually thought at the time, grants have a lifespan, and we thought that, after about 5 or 6 years, grants are probably going to go away. But during that time, we wanted to train up some landowners so that when the grant money went away, they could continue to burn on their private lands. And so now we're on year 6 of these grants, and it actually looks like it's going to be stronger instead of weaker for the future.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, because we're actually going to add another engine and another engine crew to go with that. So we're looking to double what we're able to provide our partners and private landowners here in the next year.
Far out. That's really great to hear that. So I always like to ask thinking about having trained and interacting with so many people over the years, is there any memorable life experience or memorable story that you can recall over those years that maybe you were completely surprised by?
I don't know. I mean, I guess surprise is part of every class you teach, but I mean, there are things that happen that you didn't expect. From burning in the Everglades on a wind that was like 16, 17 miles an hour, and we're like, do we do this or do we not do this? And we decided to do that, but I mean, because when you step back from that in North Florida, that would have been an impossible question. Can we burn on those kind of winds? And the answer would have been no. Okay, but down there, when you've got all this water and you're kind of burning an island with all this water around it, why not? And we did. That was probably the most perfectest backburn I've ever done. But there was a lot of thought that went in. Do we do this or do we not do this? And does it make sense to do this? And so that would be a surprise. But you also get those surprises like today, where we've got an engine from the other side of the country, and then so the main focal for today is that engine and everything that engine can do. And then something happens where that engine's not functioning properly. So there's another example of a surprise, if you will. So I hope that's the kind of angle you wanted me to go. But for surprises, so
there's always surprises when it comes to equipment, when you're dealing with heavy equipment, and also, any type of prescribed burning equipment can be. I had that happen on Friday where we had a UTV with a 60-gallon tank in the back of it, and one of the crew members was using it, and I think what happened was water hammer, which is the time when if, for instance, somebody were to drive over a charged hose with about 60 or 70 psi in a hose lay, or is a technique to get fire put out from a longer distance away with a hose. And so I think what happened is either somebody drove over that water hose or they shut it off too quickly and it burst one of the pipes.
Okay.
Or not the pipe, but it burst the high pressure hose that was connected to the pump where the recirculation valve was. So, and it burst, and we were losing a lot of water in that. And that's pretty typical of the stuff that happens on the line. Equipment breaks down. There's inevitably some sort of things like that can go sideways. Sometimes you roll over a four-wheeler in the middle of a burn, which has happened to me before, or you break something. Things break all the time, and we're pretty hard on equipment.
We are. So, I mean, you're taking something that wasn't designed to carry water, and you figure 8 pounds per gallon of water times 60 gallons or 50 gallons on a UTV. So you've changed the center of gravity, and you're putting it in some pretty rough conditions. So things certainly happen for sure. You mentioned water hammer, but we actually discussed that today in class. Is that during today's operation where we're going to be flowing some water, let's be very careful how we shut things on and off. Because we're using gate valves. If you slam it shut, well, you're going to create a hammer. So you want to ease into those kind of things. So that's kind of important.
Yeah, there's it's always kind of interesting to see how sometimes things go great and you have no issues, but we had a flat tire on Friday, and I just keep thinking about Friday because that was just fresh in my mind. But there's always those kinds of things that happen that you kind of end up have to be a jack of all trades to do this.
Well, you do for sure. You need to have some mechanical background, or at least have some knowledge. I mean, so part of those classes that we taught that you're talking about, some of that was Engine Academy, and that's some of the things that we teach in Engine Academy is you need to understand how the pump works and how the plumbing works on every engine. You can follow and trace that, because when it's not pumping right, you got to figure out why it's not pumping right. And sometimes it might be there's a valve that's shut off or not all the way open, or maybe there's a valve that should be open that's closed, like the recert valve, So the purpose of that recert is to kind of help you with some of that. But if it's not opened up enough, then then that creates another set of problems. And
Yeah,
then when
very
you're trying
true.
to draft or something, you got that recert open, and well, you're not going to draft. So yeah, understanding all that sometimes is.
Yeah, it can be a little. It can take years and years for you folks to really get fully comfortable with all the equipment and
Yep.
understanding things, and then you're off for a few months and you're not burning, and then you come back and it's sort of like getting back in the swing of things, like
Yep.
getting back on a bicycle.
Trying to learn some of that stuff all over again. You're right. Some of it comes natural, and sometimes you just got. For us the other day, it was a wiring harness on a trailer.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody forced it into the plug or in the wrong angle, and then we took a bunch of effort to get it out. We're out in the woods without any tools and trying to figure that out. So we got that worked out, and we had a little conversation about if it's not sliding in there easy, there's probably a reason for that.
Yeah, yeah, that's yeah. I sometimes there's stuff that happens that makes you scratch your head. Like, where did this even? How did we even get to the point where we're at right now? Whether you get bogged down and get stuck, or a dozer or a bulldozer gets stuck off the side of the road in a wet, swampy area, and then next thing you know, you have one truck hooked to it, and then another truck's hooked to that, and you're trying to pull and get it out.
Yeah. Or something as simple as somebody put gas in a diesel UTV.
Oh boy, yeah.
Wow, yeah, that's something special.
I can make a mess. Yes, it can. Well, Mr. Barry, I know you're a busy man. This is a great class that's going on here. One thing I'd also was curious about: what brings you joy in life? What types of things make you happy in life?
Okay, so talking to a guy that spent 40 some odd years doing this prescribed burning, fighting fire, you may or may not can appreciate the answer, but it's going to be called grandkids.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the grandkids and I go to Georgia for 2 weeks every year, and we go trout fishing. Whether we catch a fish or not,
wow.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
But so it's that, and watching my kids grow and mature, and watching their kids grow and mature. That's some of the most satisfying stuff. And then, I'm a cowboy at heart too. So yeah, playing with genetics with cows. And, trying to get that perfect animal and size and shape and then meat quality and all that. So I'm not sure that's where you wanted to go with this conversation, but so
what kind of breed?
Brangus. I've got
Brangus?
purebred Brangus cattle. So that's a cross between Angus and Brahma. But
wow.
So it's still that. So you go to a restaurant and it just says Angus beef, or certified Angus beef. Well, Brangus is still certified Angus beef, but.
So could you hook me up with?
Absolutely, half or a quarter.
Half or a quarter, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, depends on how big your freezer is. We can talk.
I like
it. In
it.
fact, I got 5 in the pen right now.
Oh, do you?
At different stages of development, yeah. So
interesting.
Yeah, there's a bunch of folks that's had Coulette beef.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like it. Well, going back to the class, we got, it looks like they're kind of wrapping up their discussion about the engine itself. They're going to go into the next. What are they going to be doing next?
So we're going to be building hand lines next. So they'll be taking hand tools, and we'll build hand line. After we get done with that, we'll let them do a little lunch break and kind of debrief from this morning. And then this afternoon, we'll actually spray some water.
Spray a little bit of water this afternoon. Well, this has been great, Barry. I appreciate your time, and we certainly have had a great introduction to what this class is. I think we're going to stick around a little bit.
Right, that's excellent.
See how, maybe for the next hour or two, see how things go, and we'll check back in with you in a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great. Glad to have you.
Sounds good. Okay, so we're nearing the end of our time here with the class. I just wanted to get back together with you, Barry, and just say thank you for allowing us to have some insight on this educational activity that's going out here today. And so let's say that if any one of our listeners are ever interested in getting involved in prescribed fire, do you have any advice? Do you have any advice for them?
Sure. I mean, training is the key, and actually some of the things that a lot of the agencies we work with that they're going to require is that you have the basic red card class, if you will. So it's the S-130, S-190, L-180, and the I-100, which is what these folks got this week up here in Lake City at Florida Gateway College. But so I would say to you, you start there, and then get involved in fire a little bit, prescribed burning. And if that's truly your thing, something you want to do, then I would encourage you to take the CPBM class, the Certified Prescribed Burn Manager class, and get involved that way. And I highly encourage folks to get involved with prescribed fire. All of a sudden here I can't talk, but anyway, got tongue tied. But yeah, I think prescribed fire is a passion for me, and training folks is a passion for me. And so I think that the more folks we get involved with prescribed fire, or at least understanding prescribed fire and the benefits of prescribed fire, that's huge. So yeah.
Great. Well, Barry, it's been real. Okay. It's been fun.
And it's been real fun.
It's been real fun. Thanks again for for taking the time to get together with us, and we'll look forward to hopefully getting together with you again one of these days soon.
Looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
As I'm driving home this morning down this small country road, I'm reflecting on this time that I spent with Barry. Barry's a kind person with a generous smile who really cares a lot about people. And that's one of the things that's so great about getting together with him and hearing his passion about having positive influence on people. It's always great to hear those kinds of stories coming from people like him. And I also was able to talk with some federal employees as well as some county employees that were there too. That group that was there from Montana, we shared some good experiences, because I spent a few summers out in Montana myself, and we were talking about some of the common ground that we had there. And one of the county firefighters told me the story about what had happened during the 1998 fire season, and that was the worst wildfire season that the state of Florida has ever had in recent history, because there was 499,000 acres that burned that year. And there was even a study that was done afterwards that really revealed that it cost the taxpayers about $1,864 per acre in damages. And if you looked at that in today's dollars, it could be multiplied at least by another 20%, maybe more. And so during those times, there was, even around the city of Gainesville, there was a lot of, there were some big fires that swept through the local landscape. It burned through Austin Carey Memorial Forest, which is out there kind of on the north of the city limits. And all of the agencies that were involved in that were able to stop the fire before it got to the city limits, and really created much more havoc and destruction. So that was a great example of folks working together. And it sounded during those times there was a paradigm shift, and that created the need for the mandatory wildland fire trainings that we hear that we were here today learning about. They've added that into the structural firefighter curriculum because of those 1998 fires. And it's just interesting to see how now there's more of a broader approach to sort of getting people prepared as they come through as young trainees going through these classes. So I saw a lot of passionate people, a lot of good stories being shared, and a lot of good experiences, hopefully, for the future. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and learned a few things along the way, because I know that I did this morning. This is a Step Beyond the Fire podcast. Thanks for tuning in.